we've got Orlando Pride and Utah Royals on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern on Paramount Plus. And gotta say, while I feel like some of these games this weekend could give us some of that match week 1 energy, I don't think this is the one that is going to feel that way for me. When I look at these two teams on paper, I see Orlando Pride with an incredible lineup doing really good things in 2025, going up against a struggling Utah Royal side. And they've already had a head-to-head this season already, where Orlando Pride not only got the better of them, kind of made Utah look foolish during certain stretches of that game. You know, it's one of those games where it's like you're looking at two teams on the table. They're obviously going in very different directions, Jordan. But for Orlando specifically, they are not actually at the top of the table. They are 8 points behind league-leading Kansas City Current at this moment. And so all these games in front of them are maybe opportunities to try to close that gap, more so than Utah to try to close a gap at the bottom half of the table.
It is.
My question to you,
yeah.
I know you're about to like hit us all with your knowledge, but my question to you is, for the Pride, going up against a team in Utah, is it more about just like showing that you're still a dominant team, or is it just about like, this is the opponent in front of us, let's go ahead and crush it?
Knowing Seb Hines, I think it's maybe the latter, but knowing these players and how competitive they are, I think they're going to want to say, hey, we're still here to push. Even though that shield race is starting to open up, I don't think this Orlando team has doubts that they can figure out a way to push that. So it's interesting because I don't think they're as dominant as they were last year. There was something about this team, like an aura about them, when whoever played them, they went out there and they were a little fearful. And I think teams have done a really good job of adapting. They have not given them the number one space that they want, which is in behind. So they haven't opened up in a mid-block push, transition into a press, and then given up the space in behind. The only team that has done that is Utah, and that didn't go very well with the Banda hat trick. So I think for Orlando, the biggest thing that they're going to have to figure out in this second half of season, and I believe in Seb Hines and this coaching staff and the way that they can fiddle with things, is how do you break down a low block? How do you do it? How do you do it effectively? It is the hardest thing in the game. But for this Orlando team, teams are not giving them space in the behind. They are sitting lower. They're saying, break us down. And that has been difficult for Orlando. If they figure that out in this, or really honed in on that in this break, I feel like they are going to be a different level, because now you're going to have to mix it up again, right? You can't just sit in a low block. You're going to have to come out a little bit, and then space opens up. And that's where Orlando can really punish you.
You know, I'm curious on the Utah side of things in this one, McCall, because while Orlando is trying to chase some greatness here, for Utah, they're coming into the second half with maybe far different different long-term goals as a club. And I think if you're a player on that team, maybe you're also navigating some other things in your future. I mean, they have 10 players right now that will become free agents at the end of this year. So it sort of feels like as they're returning, they could be like this team in transition. So what could we see from this Utah Royals team in this match? And if you're a player on that team or in the locker room, what are the goals for yourself to sort of see this season out?
I mean, these two teams, this matchup, the Pride and Utah Royals, they're both thinking about completely different things right now. They're in completely different spots. Their concerns are very different. And I'm just going to call it how I see it. Pride have slowed down a bit. They really have. And I think what I can attribute that to is Marta was that driving force last year. She was highly motivated. She wanted to win and achieve the one thing she has not done yet, which is winning an NWSL championship. And when that chick wants something, she will get it. And
you know that better than anybody, McCall.
Yeah, seriously. I'm telling you, she is a leader that you feed and you breed off of. She pushes everyone around her. She puts expectation on herself, and she'll put the same onto you. And she gives you that feeling when you're on her team that you don't want to let her down, because you respect her and you admire her so much. And she's the GOAT. You listen to the MF go. And if she wants it really bad, that puts a fire in everybody else. And she was so locked in, so focused, and so adamant about winning that championship last year. And now that she's got it, you kind of, lose those details and you get not a little bit complacent, but you can tell that the pride just didn't come back the same this year. But Utah, I was disappointed in them in this summer window. They didn't make any moves. They didn't go after any players. They didn't make any roster adjustments. So for me, I'm like, what are they really thinking about? What are they really doing? Mm-hmm. They're just trying to grasp and hang on. And Pride is just now trying to make the playoffs to win other championships. So they're in completely different spots.
Yeah, 100%. I framed it that way because I just sort of was like, yeah, it shouldn't feel this way maybe for a team that kind of made a little bit of second half noise last year, but that's not the same energy. It's not matching last year at all. If you're Utah. So I don't know if I'm even going to bother with predictions for this one. It sort of feels like we think Orlando's going to go out there and do the thing, but shockingly or not shockingly, the chat agrees with us as well. 75-25. They do not think that Utah will find a way to upset Orlando. So what that means? We're going to be right back here on Sunday probably talking about a Royals win. But in the meantime, here's another game that we've got our eye on. So while you can watch all of these the first couple games that we talked about across Paramount Plus, we're also going to keep an eye on a number 4 versus a number 5 matchup. We've got Washington Spirit going head to head with Portland Thorns. This one's going to be on Sunday at 12:30 Eastern. I'm very, very curious about this particular matchup because you've got those two teams where maybe the margins are kind of fine. I think you've got two teams where this is a game that could be maybe one lost or even the draw in that middle third. And I'm very, very curious about this next phase for Washington Spirit because they're going to be this, I don't want to say completely different team, but they're navigating this next half of the season with Adrian Gonzalez as the new head coach. Technically a former interim who's now promoted to the full-time head coach. There is no more Jonathan Giraldes, who departed ahead of the July break to go run OL Lyonnais. So I'm curious for you, McCall, when you're looking at this one, is that going to be that sort of X factor for Washington Spirit? Sometimes when we see that sort of coaching change, we see like these little bumps for teams along the way. But I'm curious, does that happen for a team where a change like this is made shortly before a break, and then all of a sudden you have this big chunk of time with maybe a couple of exhibition games? Does that bump actually come into play? Do we think we'll see that come into effect for the Spirit in this return game back?
Well, for the Spirit, we're working with two major variables that they're now approaching into the second half of the season: a coaching change and Trinity Rodman return. So those two things are enough to really change the dynamic and the look of a team. But there's still a question mark because we haven't seen him coach at the helm, do everything on his own. And we haven't seen Trin back from this major back injury. And this is the longest time she's taken off football in a long time. And return to play is really so difficult. You can train all you want on your own, but there's nothing like being in that team environment with competition, then also getting into the games. I have concerns about the load that her back will take at high tempo, high pressure, high physicality games in the NWSL. And, I hope she's doing well. I really want to see her back on the pitch and back with our national team. And, she's our flair child. We love watching her. She's so much fun. She makes football fun. And so if she's not herself, that will be a very different look for the Spirit.
Yeah, 100%. It's not just, to your point, it's not just going to be on the sideline. This is the player who mentioned earlier before she took some extended time off that she said that, I don't know if I'm ever going to be the same Trin again. And bless Trinity Rodman, because she made fun of herself a little bit in recent media availability. She was back at training with the Spirit and said, God, I sounded so sad or so depressed when I said that. And she's obviously had some time to even think about where her mindset was from. I'm just going to share a little bit of some of what she told the media. She said, I think for me mentally, it was really hard now being better and fixing the problem, I can now kind of openly say I was in pain all the time. Working through that was difficult. Obviously, it sucks being away from the team, being away from soccer in general, but I got to work on things that I wouldn't have gotten to work on if I was in the team environment all the time. So I think that was a positive. So for some players, maybe getting that time away or getting different types of feedback on how to manage injuries can be helpful. It sounds like she's in a better place with some of what she was sharing with media at Spirit training. And so I do wonder if maybe this second half of the season for the Spirit, Jordan, will kind of mirror Rodman's beginning, because we didn't see her as like this immediate starter for the Spirit. I can't imagine that that's going to be the case in this return back either.
Spirit have been just fine, right? It's not that they're far off from anything. So getting Trinity Rodman back, is that the X factor? I think it potentially could be. But if I'm Washington Spirit, I am treating this very carefully. I am managing Trinity's, she's probably chomping at the bit, right? She wants to get back out there, but also she wants to get back out there, like McCall said, feeling her best. And McCall and I have both been through this as a professional, and we don't wish this upon anybody, but sometimes injury gives you a perspective that you don't have before. And you know that where you want to go, and you can appreciate, like, I know that I'm only going to get there if I can be fully myself. And so can she manage those emotions of being back with the team, being back ready to contribute, with also saying, are these the right decisions to play a lot right now? Can I speak a little bit more about, okay, this isn't right for me, I'm going to express that. But for the Washington Spirit, I think they're in a good place. And even with Adrian Gonzalez being the head coach, they know what he's like, and they have health on their side now, which they have not had through the beginning of the season, with some really key players. And remember, Sandra, McCall, the beginning of last year when Gonzalez was coaching this team, they were so elite in a mid-block press. They were so good because they could spring Croy, they could spring Trinity at moments when they won the ball back. I am hopeful we are going to see a little bit more of that from this Spirit team, because they were hands down the best transition team from defense to offense last year. And if they can incorporate that with what they have already been doing, the success of their work in the channels with Kruger and some of the players like Santos, who can spring balls into the box and they can finish. If they have that little bit of transition moment, I think that this is going to be a really good second half. But the big thing is, can they stay healthy, and can they manage the players who are coming back from injury, but which includes Hal and Croy and all those players too, right? So this is an intriguing matchup in a lot of reasons, but I think everybody's eyes are we going to see Trinity?
I'm glad you mentioned that.
I mean, I'm sure you guys are too. I'm still waiting for Croy Bethune to get herself back.
Exactly.
Like, she's not there yet. It's taken her a little bit longer than we would expect. And it's a process. People don't realize that there's so much mental and emotional, not only the physical and, introducing yourself back into that speed of play and having competition run at you, because when you are training on your own or, doing return to play with your health from a surgery or an injury, it's all individual work, and like your loading is already there, and you're just, but then when you put the dynamics of actual competition in front of your face and making decisions at a rapid pace again, and, when you're out of the game for a little bit, you kind of lose that knack. So we'll see.